you see that? That was fucking lightning.
That was
lightning in a bottle. That's how we do it.
Quick like a ninja.
Hey, everyone.
Like a spider monkey.
Fucking all hopped up on Mountain Dew right now.
I feel like I am.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. It must have me about 16 Dr. Peppers. Hey, I'm Ricky Hayes. This is the Challenge Fandom Podcast. This is my beautiful wife, Corrina Hayes. We've got Tony, Stats and Info, Lance, and we've got Alexis, Tex, Rawson. Let's go. We're here to break down episodes 4 and 5 of the Challenge All-Stars 5 Rivals.
Yeah.
Dramatic as fuck.
Yeah, we're back a little sooner than we originally planned, y'all. We, after last time we recorded after episode 3, we did a 3-episode recap. And when we were done, we were like, it might be just maybe 2 episodes, maybe every 2 episodes, not every 3. Like that might be just a little too much.
And I'm just going to say right now, if you guys are having withdrawals, like it's not enough, you're not getting us every week, we got a lot coming for you. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned. And we are going to be back a little bit early next week, too, because we've got a returning guest. If you know, you know.
No, look, let's just say it this way. We have left you guys alone, left you high and dry for like the first half of this episode. The next half, you're going to be fucking sick of us by the time this season is done, because facts. We have interviews to drop. We have this recap. Then we have episode 6 recap that we're going to be doing for the mid-season breakdown. Like Rick said, if you know, you know. And then we have another recap planned. And then we have the final breakdown planned. And then we're going to have end of the season interviews.
Does that mean we're halfway through the season already?
Oh, yeah. It's a 10-episode season.
Yeah. We're halfway through. It's
glorious. It's so good.
I'm so happy.
It is.
That's going to be one of our debate points at the end of the season. What do you prefer? 28 episodes or 10?
Do you prefer it take 6 months or?
Yeah. Do you like sitcoms or do you like specials?
Yeah.
Would you prefer the 2 seasons to overlap, or would you like a short break in between?
Or for it to be on the same day as all your other shows.
Oh my God, that's the worst. No, I'm honestly super excited because by the time All Stars 5 is over, 41 is like just now starting to film.
Now. Yeah.
So they still have to film it for fucking 10 to 12 weeks. And then, edit and blah, 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 blah.
It's going to take minimum 90 days for them to edit and put it together.
It's going to be a few months before we have Challenge again. And I'm actually kind of excited for the break. And I know that our loyal...
We say that for every break.
I know our
who doesn't fucking need a break, man?
I know our loyal, hardcore podcast listeners are probably like, boo. But just remember, guys, if y'all remember back to the days when we actually had breaks in between seasons.
Way back.
We get to have discussion episodes now. It's not like we're disappearing on y'all, okay? We're not like all those other podcasts that just dip out when the season dips out. We're coming with the fire, and we have so many good freaking topics. Like, I have been taking notes, and Rick and I were talking the other night. Ironically, I think it's about time to redo our best rookie season discussion. Like, that would be super fun. Mm-hmm. I would love to redo our best one and done season, because we did it with somebody that episode is not in the universe anymore. So I would love to redo that one. We have, let's just say we're coming up on what episode number are we on?
198,
197, 198,
something like that. Somewhere
right around there. Okay. This episode that we are recording right now, that you're listening to right now, it's our 252nd session, which means that we have over 50 episodes we've never released to you guys.
That's not a complete. It's more like 40 because we had the exit interviews, and that doesn't count as our actual episode count.
That's true. That's fair. So it's
according to my calculations.
You were borrowing the brain on that one.
Thank you. I'll give that back right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of those were discussion episodes that we just weren't really happy with how they came out, and it was early in our recording life, our podcast, the life of our podcast. So yeah, I'm super stoked for this break because I want to go back. I want to do discussion episodes again. I want to, just, I don't know. I just want to have fun again. Like, not that this isn't fun. It's fun. But I just love having those discussion episodes. Those ones are always my favorite.
Few interviews we didn't put out, save people's careers.
Yeah, we did. We did save some people's. We have saved some people's careers. Let's just say that because
you're welcome.
Yeah, you know who you are, and you're welcome.
Look, Corrina doesn't edit what we say out anymore, but she'll do it for challengers.
Yeah, I'll still do it for challengers. But if it's like the whole episode makes you look like a fucking asshole, then I'm just not gonna put that out, bruh. Like,
probably for the best.
Especially if I know you're not like actually a piece of shit. You're just probably having like a really tough day or week or whatever's going on in your life, So anyway, this is going down a road I didn't want it to go on.
We're going into a discussion thread right now.
Reel us back in.
I mean, I could, but I like to watch us digress.
Oh my God.
We're good at it.
We are very good at that.
That's my favorite thing.
You know what? Actually, continue to digress. I really need to grab the phone charger or my phone is not going to make it through this.
Do your thing.
3:28 a.m.
This doesn't work. Try again.
This sounds like trash. Also, audience, is it better? Does it sound better?
Well, I mean,
Let us know
when you listen to it.
I know, but I just want them to know, like, I've been working hard on this shit for y'all.
This has been driving us crazy for like 3 weeks.
Bruh, like, I've put hours into this shit trying to fix this shit for y'all. Like,
okay, look, we're digressing way too much, and I don't want to do that, so let's get into this.
Regress.
Regress. Bum, bum, bum.
That's when you do this. Instead of this.
Oh, the rainbow.
Bring it back together.
Bing bong, bing bong. All right, I'm
Bing,
good.
bong. Boom. Now you fucked me all up.
Yeah. Well, it was God's plan to show you all who the liar was.
That's not the lie.
I know. I don't care.
Ay. Oh my God.
Re-digress.
Anyway, moving on. We're not
Okay.
going to get into Kendrick on this
No.
episode. We literally cannot.
You will probably cut all this out because it's all bullshit and horrible.
We'll
so,
see.
anyways, let's get into these episodes. Let's start with episode 4, Ring Around the Rival. I'm not mad. You know what? It's not the worst one we've seen thus far, and it's not the worst one we're going to talk about tonight. So,
You know what's really funny to me, though?
what?
And I know I told you to stop making the stupid get rich or die trying joke because it's played out and I'm sick of it. And then this past week I was catching up on Traders, and I think it was like episode like 8 or 9, and Alan Cummings, the host, made a fucking get rich or die trying joke, and I was like, God damn it. The like literal week I told Rick, don't find a different joke. That one's getting old. It's like whatever other thing we got called out on. What was it that you always say? With that being said.
Sorry, Melissa.
Right? Sorry, Melissa.
I don't even really say it that much anymore.
You don't. Yeah, you've kind of outgrown that one.
Yeah, hive mind.
Now we're just super heavy on hive mind. Oh my gosh, yeah. Shout out to the person on our YouTube that was like, why was hive mind said like 1,000 times on this episode? Is that like a thing you guys do? And I'm like, we've been saying that since like, I don't want to say day one, but for majority of this podcast life, I'm like, where have you been?
Look, how do I want to say this? Me and Tony did an Neuralink about 3 years ago, and we've just been on the same page ever since.
Oh my God. Anyway, episode 4, Ring Around the Rival.
Let's go. All right. So, hey, I want to ask this because it kind of leads in from what we talked about last episode, which was the idea that women teams, women male, co-ed, and then male teams playing against each other is just not fair, should not be done. And then we've seen 2 different episodes now where the daily actually is beneficial, not necessarily for a male team, but it's beneficial for a male-female team.
Right.
And we've seen it where it's beneficial for a male team. And then we've seen it where it's not beneficial to any type of sex, where trivia is just relationship based.
I actually, I think that it wasn't beneficial to any like sex or anything like that, but it was beneficial to more longer standing
So
relationships and friends.
with that being said, my question to all of you guys is, does seeing how they're changing these dailies change your feelings towards the partner setup? Corrina?
I like the way you worded that.
You're welcome. See, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. I don't know. To be honest, like I'm actually really torn on this one. My initial instinct is to say no. It's still not fair because, and it's hard, also obviously hard to say because we haven't seen the whole season. So we don't know if there's like an equal amount of dailies that are, geared towards female teams, that there are male teams or whatever. I still think that the season is going to end up being very unbalanced. However, I will say it was nice to see a physical daily, and by that I just mean in comparison to like, episode 5 where they're not really doing anything physical. It's more of a mental and social kind of thing. But to see a physical daily on episode 4 where it was not beneficial for the male teams at all. Like I mean, Devin, I will say Devin and Leroy obviously did very well, but there's also a massive size difference between those two. So, they I don't want to say they have like the same setup as like, Fessy Bamber, Dario Ashley, like the male-female teams. I don't want to say that. But they do have size difference that I think, helped their situation. But watching like Adam and Steve, like it was tough to watch because they're both incredible competitors. But this daily was just clearly not made for one big dude to throw another big dude or like swing him out. Like it wasn't made for them.
Yeah. So I'm going to go just kind of give my opinion because it's not too entirely different than yours. It doesn't change my opinion, but on how I think the partner sharing or the partner distribution is, I think it should be either co-ed or same sex and they're separated, like how they did on Rivals too. But I do think they're trying to mitigate that as much as they can with the dailies.
Do you think that they're trying to make everything co-ed because that's like what people in the world want right now?
I don't think that's the craziest idea.
Yeah.
They're like, equality, we're like spreading it out between different genders and their pairs. I kind of am going back and forth with it too, though, because like you would think it would be completely unfair, but like a couple of them have been, pretty neutral, I would say. But honestly, I don't really mind it. I feel like this is how you're going to get the best rivals. Because I don't know, though, because some of the female-male pairs, how many do we really have?
We got Fessy Bamber, Dario Ashley,
Shane Devon,
Devon,
Frank and Sam.
Sam.
More than I remember.
Yeah, it's a majority of the houses, honestly, male, female.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that too, and I think if it wasn't for that elimination where they had to get the giant balls and the small balls and carry them through the different obstacle course, I would say, okay, they're really actually trying, but it just doesn't feel like they're mitigating it enough in those situations. You know what I mean? They are trying to escape that room.
Oh my gosh, are they hanging on the handle?
Dude,
Yes.
That is the cutest fucking thing ever.
No, it's not. They wake my kid up and they're like, we've actually like changed most of the doorknobs in our house. And on the other side of the door, there's a baby lock that makes it so they can't open it.
Oh, gotcha. That's so funny. I've never had like a cat or a dog that'll like open the doors. And so like when I see ones that do, I'm like, oh my God, that's so fucking cute.
Ivan, when he was kitten, would go to the little spring on the back and
yeah, I've had a cat do that. My grandma's cat used to do that shit. It used to drive me banana sandwich.
Anyways,
sorry.
Before we drive the listeners banana sandwich by digressing, Tony, what's your thoughts on this?
So Alexis brings up a super valid point in that there's going to come a time where the challenge has to diversify how they group teams. So this could very easily be like their first step to see how this works on like a larger scale, because really All Stars is going to be a safer place to do that than Flagship, as far as testing it out, sort of what we're doing with our new format. But I think for the most part, they're doing a decent job at making it even. I think that one of the things that we have to remember is notoriously the challenge hasn't been fair, like ever. So it's not really changing anything.
That's true.
For it to continue to be unfair, historically speaking, but it also comes down to like a super fine line between what is like equal playing field versus what's something you independently have to work on as a challenger. So like if there was a bunch of swimming, Leroy's not going to do as well, but that doesn't mean that that's not fair for Devin and Leroy. That means that Leroy should learn how to swim. And I mean, obviously, like Leroy has been learning how to swim, but just as an example, I mean, another thing could be like when you do have those lifting challenges, if you actually do it so that it's a percentage of the team's total body weight, but then you're still going to like, no matter what you do, you're going to have people that are going to pick it apart, say it's not fair. Because if you do a percentage of the team's body weight, maybe one of the teams doesn't have great upper body strength. So it doesn't matter what they have to carry, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So for the most part, it, again, like my opinion hasn't totally changed on how fair or like equal it is, but I think that they're doing a decent job at mixing things up. Case in point, like with trivia, like I know that that's in episode 5, but it was all based on who knew each other longer. So it came down to the fact that like a Devin and Leroy who have played together, but haven't necessarily like worked together, versus a Katie and Veronica who have known each other forever. They're just inherently going to know more about one another and know how each other thinks. And that's like super obvious when you looked at the trivia and looked at the answers that people were giving. Who knew each other longer versus who had a rivalry that was like fresh.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I like that.
I do too. And I think you brought up a valid point in the beginning, which is, and so did Alexis, with as far as reflecting society more realistically, right? Like, and I would be okay with even bigger teams that aren't like even numbers, right? Like you've got one team with, 5 women and 2 men, and another team with like 4 men and 3 women, or, something, whatever, or how they're doing this now. But I think if they're going to do like an actual just pair situation where it's just woman versus male versus male female, they really have to mitigate the games, or, make the games fair. Just like how we saw in All Stars 4, where they made it where any competitor could have won this. It didn't take a ton of endurance. Like Veronica could have won this final. That final, yeah. Yeah. And I think if they do something like that, then to me, green light, love it, won't complain. Right. But when I see that it's a running competition and lifting and climbing and all of this, and all of a sudden it's like, well, shit, 3 or 4 teams are automatically out right now. Like I know they're not winning this. So yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling on this. Let's move this forward a little bit. What'd you guys think of the 80s prom night and Steve sitting out on that shit? So like Corrina brought this up right when she saw it, and I kind of want to see if you guys see any parallels on this. But when Cara Maria stepped away from the party on War of the Worlds 2,
it's giving Cara.
She didn't even go.
Yeah,
he didn't either.
Yeah, he didn't
even
go.
He laid in his bed,
and they're friends, right?
Steve and Cara.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
like I feel like they bonded.
Yeah, they did. You're right. With the what was it? The bag, the
Bulgarian bag.
The Bulgarian bag. I was like, the ball bag.
The ball bag. No, but here's my question, kind of like the sub question to this. Do you think it's like for Cara, I felt like it tanked her social game that season, even more so. Do you think it's going to have that same effect on Steve?
I don't think so, just because like the nature of the party's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And like, no offense, but Steve's old. So like maybe he doesn't want to have a freaking party. He's tired. He's been going in elimination constantly. He needs a fucking nap.
For reals though, like side gig, we got a new couch, like 10 o'clock came just out on that fucker right away. No party or not.
See?
Yeah.
I can relate. So I don't blame him for not going, but he missed out on some good vibes.
It did give good vibes. I liked it. It reminded me of old school parties.
I mean, I'm probably going to say this a couple of times throughout this episode, but Steve and Adam are already going in every time if they don't win. So Steve sitting out the party doesn't really impact what, like, social game to me is how you're going to be able to sway like a house vote or something like that. For Adam and Steve, it's basically win or go in. So maybe this is the father of three speaking, but if you have an opportunity to go to bed early, take it. Like, throw your CPAP machine on, because I know that Steve has one, because I do too. I saw it last time he was on. And just like, go to bed, man. Like, if you can do it, if you can get far enough away from the party that it's quiet and you can actually sleep, no harm, no foul at this point. Get rested. Everyone else is going to be hungover.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's proven to work for him thus far. Corrina, what do you think?
I mean, pretty much hive minding with everybody about this specific situation. However, I do want to say that in a different situation, first of all, Adam and Steve are not very good at the social aspect or the political aspect of this game anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Like you said, it's either win or go in for them. And you know, they definitely did not help themselves this episode, but we will get to that. I don't think this is the moment that hurt them. But I will say that I do think, like, on a normal basis for like somebody trying to make connections in the house, trying to play the social and political game, who maybe can't count on their physical abilities as much, absolutely skipping out on a party or any type of celebration or something like that you're invited to, birthday, whatever. Like, if you're invited to something in the house, like even just going out and making a 10 or 15 minute appearance and then being like, hey, you know, whatever, cheers, you know, okay, I'm feeling really tired, I'm going to go ahead and go to bed, but happy birthday, or, you know, happy prom night, or whatever the hell, you know. I think that effort counts in social situations, and I think that that Steve knows that where he stands and that he can rely on his, you know, physical abilities. But I do think that moments like this can severely hurt people, you know, in the game.
I'm hive minding with all of you. Like, really, I agree. I'm old. Let me go to bed. Have your party. Have a great time. I'm going to bed. But if you're not socially set in where you're at on this game, hive mind, bad decision. So
yeah, the only thing I'll bring up is jumping back to, I want to say, potentially double agents. I think it was either double agents or spies lies, but I believe it was double agents with Mustard. Remember, what was his name? The Mustard guy?
That was spies lies.
Joseph or whatever.
Yeah.
And remember, we kept making the joke the other day. I thought Rick would catch the joke, but of course it just
no. I got distracted because people walked in. But yeah.
Anyway, if you remember on that season, they had that, you know, that club thing in the backyard, and they would, you know, go out there to go film their club scenes or whatever, and Joseph kept like falling asleep on the couch out there. He was not socializing at all, and that was a big reason that it made it so easy for everyone to just, you know, throw him in. And like, I think his partner at one point was like Big T, and she had a great social game, and still it wasn't enough to save the fact that this guy was literally putting no effort into the game or the social aspect, and it severely affected him, So I think it depends on who you are, and if you are that confident, you're an Adam or a Steve or a Fessy or something like that, and like I've got this with my physical abilities, then, all the more power to you, go to bed. But if you don't, take the 15 minutes, the 20 minutes, go downstairs, go have one drink or one little slice of cake or give some hugs or, whatever. Put the outfit on for 10 minutes for the damn camera and then take your ass to bed. You know what I mean? Because even just a little bit like that, in my opinion, can go like a long way in a house situation.
Yeah, I mean, simplest of terms, Steve can take a nap. Dario has to go to the party.
Right.
Exactly. And that's my thing is you have to know where your structure is in this. Yeah. Like we said previously, Steve and Adam know they're going in, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like it's not going to change anything. Like if Steve went out there and networked with a few people and like really started to try to parlay some things, could something happen? Maybe, but probably not.
But, and I think it was pointed out a lot on episode 4 and also episode 5 that, majority of the people that are here have longstanding relationships. Even the newer players, the more modern day players have longstanding relationships in the game that make it difficult for people like Adam and Steve to squeeze in. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to beat this dead, but at the same time, it's an 80s party, bro. Go. You lived in the 80s. Go enjoy it.
Yeah, no kidding.
The outfits were great, though. I just want to say, I know Veronica was talking her shit and saying that nobody there was like, she's like, oh, half the people here weren't even alive in the 80s. Like, do they even know what the 80s is? And I was like, first of all, I was like, what kind of question is that? That was weird. But the outfits were amazing. Like, Bamber and I think it was Ashley Kay, like they looked so 80s to me. Melissa, she looked great. Like they did good.
And the balloons were great too.
The balloons were amazing.
I was like, oh my God, how did they get balloons? Did they blow those up with their mouth? No, they didn't.
I'm going to digress real quick, round the table on this. How do you guys feel about Devin's confessional shirt?
What was it?
It's
looks like he's going to Las
silk,
Vegas.
like purple, blue. Looks like it's from the 70s almost.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't even notice, to be honest. So
how did you not notice?
I will say though, this is Devin's hottest season to me.
Because this is what I look at when Devin's talking.
Oh my
I get lost right here in the little thingies that he's got. That's where I am looking. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're very blue.
I'm right fucking here.
You asked. How did you not notice it? Because I was looking at his eyes. Well, how is that a bad thing to say? I'm just saying.
How did you not even notice what Corey was doing? I was looking at her boobs the whole time.
Well, I assume that you are. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm looking at her boobs
too.
Yeah,
literally.
Facts. Anyways,
she is hot.
We just digressed even more and more. We'll get to the show.
Devin's shirt, I can't give my opinion on it, but that's pretty funny.
It's also like unbuttoned a little bit, so I am surprised that you didn't notice.
Was it?
Yes, it's very late 70s, early 80s to me, and it almost looks like it's pure polyester.
Mm-hmm. I may also have been looking down to make notes or something. I don't know.
It's just missing the chain and a couple chest hairs. That's what it's missing.
And Corey Wharton's little tiny sunglasses.
Yes.
The tinted ones.
Yes. And you know what? Part of me is I want a shirt like that. And then the other part of me is I would never wear that shirt anywhere.
No,
it would just sit in my closet. Nope, not even then.
I feel like that's just when fun shirts come out.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Maybe I'll join I can't talk.
Wow.
Let's keep it pushing.
A bowline club?
We don't say those words. We say digress.
I can't even say that. But you know what I can talk about? I can talk about why the fuck are Adam and Steve volunteering to go into elimination? You would think, one, vets know better. Two, they're not going to change how people feel and give them what they want. So my question is do you see any political upside to this?
No. Sorry. I know you didn't call on me.
No, it's fine.
I'm no. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I think that they made a big mistake that's going to affect their game long term. And I think this was the one. Now, I do think that Adam and Steve were going to, be the scapegoats, especially after the first episode. That became very clear. It's easy to keep voting for the same person. It's boring, cast members, just so you know, we're fucking bored. Please, get a different game plan. Jesus. But, I've expected this, but I think that them standing up and volunteering right here was pretty much them just giving permission to the cast to just continue to do it the rest of the season. It was permission given, in my opinion.
100%.
And I think it was a very foolish rookie move to do that. And then to also believe that they would in turn give you, that the winners would give you who you wanted. Do you not realize that everyone wants you out of the game? Not only are they using you as a scapegoat for every, house nomination, but they also want you to lose because you're good and you guys are a strong team and you don't really have the same, rival issues that a lot of these other teams suffer from. They had that one little spat, but
you
they're
don't remember
also
sit and spin.
Yeah, I know they have. I know they have. There's some tense emotions, some hurt feelings, but I also think that that Adam and Steve had their issue. They're in their 40s. At this age, if you get in an argument with a friend, I don't know. I just feel like after after a certain age, you get in an argument with a friend and if it's either super, super bad and you just never talk again, or it's you eventually just realize it really wasn't that big of a deal to begin with. And I just don't think that I don't know. And maybe I'm reading their relationship wrong, but I just don't think that they suffer from the same hatred for each other that Ashley has for Anissa, for example, or, Janae had towards Beth. I just don't think that there's still, what Devon has for Shane and all the fucking bullshit he put her through. I just don't think there's that same level of animosity between them. And so I don't know. To me, this was, like I said, permission given.
Tony, sorry, I got lost for a second.
In my
You got lost in his eyes?
All the time.
That's fair. It happens to the best of them.
Don't leave me now. Sorry.
I'm going to counterpoint because, again, they already know that they're going in every single time. So them volunteering or just saying, they more so said we're going in than straight up volunteering. And really, that's the only control they have left in the game. If they're going to go in anyway, and they know that they're going in anyway, then they might as well take the pleasure away from everyone else in the house by voting them in and just say, you know what, we're going in. They already know they're going in.
I mean, I see your point, but you don't think that there was a chance that, they could have not got. I mean, I think that episode they were still going to get voted in. But I'm just saying, at this point now, I think it's going to be everyone. I expect them to be in until they either go home or we get to the final. I don't expect the house to vote anyone else in all season. And I don't know if that would be the same if they hadn't have volunteered and said, hey, I'm okay with it. It's kind of like what Katie was saying in her Masterclass 101, where she's like, no, you have to get upset with these people. You have to let them know I'm fucking coming back for your ass, because the more that you just laugh and smile and volunteer and be okay with it, you're just telling them that you're okay with it.
But also, if you're somebody who has been in the game or watched the game or anything like that, you know that once a name is said once, if they come back, they're just going to get put in again and again and again. That's what happens anytime somebody new comes into the game, really. Anytime we get rookies in, it's always just the rookies go in and in and in until all of them are gone, and then they play the same game. So there's nothing to indicate that Adam and Steve are not just going to keep going in, because really they got pegged as the quote unquote rookies of the group from day one and got put in first. Yeah. So to me, watching it and I guess it also helps that like my first season was Total Madness and I started watching because Jay came over from Survivor and Jay just instantly kept getting put in and in and in. So that's just like my mentality for what happens when people come into this game and they're either new or they don't have the social connections that other people have. So for them, when they got put in the first time, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So Adam and Steve are going in every single time until they either go home or they send everyone else home.
Yeah, I mean, here's my point to my kind of, because I'm riding the fence on this one tough. It's rule number one, you don't volunteer to go in no matter the situation, because I agree, it gives you permission to vote me in at any point without any blood on your hands. And that's what this cast is trying to do. 2, yes. Was it going to make a difference? No. They were going in regardless. This is just long-term permission now. What's going to happen is Adam and Steve are going to have to stop just doing it in the elimination ring and do it during the dailies.
Yeah.
And then they get to pick whoever the fuck they want to go in, and the house has to get blood on their hands. So
that's a good point. I don't know. I just feel like, sorry, I'm just going to add this last point. I just feel like for me, like I would just continue to force, like, because whether I volunteer or they vote, I'm going in. I'm going to force you to awkwardly and uncomfortably say my name to my face over and over again, bitch.
Well, then you can use it as leverage in the future.
Well, and that's my thing is, look, I don't know exactly what's going on until we actually get to interview some of these people.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm excited to talk about All-Stars 5 with some of these people.
But I want to know, are Adam and Steve actually trying to make connections in this house other than Veronica, Katie, and,
Yeah.
Amber and Fessy
and someone else.
Whatever.
You know what I mean?
Well, you said like it's supposed to be a vet. Like as a vet, you're supposed to know don't ever vote yourself into elimination. But are they truly vets in experience when you line them up to all the people who have been on the show? They're
Not
vets
really.
because they were on the show previously, but like they might not know what happens when you volunteer yourself. They might not have seen all these seasons where people go in back to back to back. I'm pretty, well, actually, I don't remember. Was Steve on the season with Horacio when he kept going in back to back to back?
No.
So like chances are they probably didn't watch that. They might not know what's coming for them. But
That is
that's
true.
You should, and that's why you should watch every season of the challenge obsessively, like us.
And then listen to us.
Listen to us break it down. No, absolutely.
Exactly.
And-
I also just I like them so much. Like I wish this was not happening. Like, and now with the other teams gone, like that's who I would be rooting for to win.
yeah.
I just want to be like that Chris Crocker video to Britney Spears, like leave Adam and Steve alone.
Honestly, yeah, like that's me too. Like I want them to win the whole season now because of
too.
the treatment that they're getting.
Okay, so
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah.
are you sure you still feel that way after you see the shoes that Adam wore into the elimination?
Dude.
It made it valid.
I hate those shoes, but I also feel like Tony might own a pair of those shoes.
Fuck no. How dare
I feel like they go good with shorts in the snow.
you? No, they do not. I don't even like when my sock gets stuck between two toes,
Yeah,
let
I
alone
can't
every
do it.
single toe
Ugh.
purposefully. No.
Purposefully.
Do you think he was wearing toe socks with it?
Oh no! Don't do that! Don't do that!
No,
Do they
Don't
make
because-
do
toe
that.
socks anymore?
Because Avery is still with him and she would not do that.
Don't do that. That you just fucked my head all up. Don't
What's
do
that one gif? Oh baby, what is you doing?
What is she doing? Yeah. No. Oh.
Secondary part of this, we just, no offense to Adam, but those shoes are atrocious, and we're
Yes,
going to give
they
you a
are.
little bit of shit about them. With that being said,
We love you though, Adam.
the fact that you are man enough to wear that on television speaks volumes about your character, and kudos to you,
still
sir.
just literally took all the criticism in front of like a million people that are going to be watching the show. Just giant smile on his face. Shut the fuck up.
It's
Giant
not a
smile.
million.
Look,
TJ's roasting him and everything.
giant smile on his face. Killed my whole joke just so you can take a stab at the show.
It was worth it.
Just like TJ took a stab at Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Roasting him.
So a question, as far as like, do you like it more when TJ talks shit to these people in elimination, or when TJ is actually coming down on people like he did with Arissa, like, take care, hope to see you never, or don't take care, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know.
I don't like it when Dad gets angry.
I don't know. I just like when TJ talks his shit, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care if he's angry, if he's joking. I just like when TJ is spicy. Spicy TJ is my favorite TJ, you know, like, throwback to, what was that? Rivals 2? Yeah, Rivals 2, you know, when he called out Anastasia for smoking and not eating.
Yeah.
Because she, like, you know, performed so horribly in that elimination. Gosh, I'm trying to think of other ones. I can't think of it right now. I know that there was one recently. I want to say it was Jordan, but I can't remember who he went against. But TJ was like I think it was against like Josh or something. And then after Josh leaves, I can't remember if it was Jordan, but Josh leaves, and then, you know, TJ's like, hey, you know, I told him that, you know, he did good just to be nice, but that was an absolute like ass whooping. Like, and I was just like, damn, TJ.
Maybe it was when he was going up against Corey.
It might have been that, or it might. So I think you're right. I think it might have been on 40 to Corey when he eliminated Josh. I think it might have been that. But yeah, I was just like, damn, TJ, like he's gonna hear that when he gets home. That's fucked.
Production made that choice.
Josh hears a lot of shit.
Yeah, he does. And he's a good guy from everything we hear. I mean,
very nice. And I took an oath to stick up for him on the internet if I see people talking shit.
Yeah. With that being said, I will still criticize Josh for making some stupid fucking moves in the game.
Yeah, and really crying every time.
Yeah, even the crying doesn't bother me. It's like, dude, stop making some of these crazy fucking moves, and I promise you'll get to that final. He gets so far and just, you know what? Fuck it. Let's pull this Band-Aid off and see what happens. Anyways, I digress. Speaking of someone who makes mistakes all the time that sometimes does not benefit her, sometimes they do, but nonetheless, she was the star of this episode, and that's Ashley Millionaire Meltdown Mitchell.
Some Ashley.
It starts off this episode with her phone call to her boyfriend, where she is just venting and just blah, 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 just going a million miles a minute to a man. I believe his second language was English.
Yeah.
So she's going a million miles a minute. You can see him watching this and just being like, no, not processing any of this. But my question is on that is, do you think that everybody overhearing what she was saying and how vocal she is the downfall to Ashley in these games?
Well, I mean, think about if you had to live with someone like that had outbursts and screamed all the time and got in your face no matter what you said. And I mean, she's just on like level 100 all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but she's 2 years old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's a little different.
Right.
But I mean, I could see that affecting her game because people don't want to live in a house with that. It sucks that she's tied with Anissa this time because, like, I was rooting for Anissa too. I was honestly rooting for the whole Vacation Alliance, and now they're gone. But I do just want to add that I loved at the end when Ashley was like, "Don't use my credit card. I'll call the cops on you." Like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of relationship is this? Like, why does he have your fucking credit card anyways?
No, I don't know this for 100%, but I am fairly certain that they are no longer seeing each other.
Oh, well.
From what I can tell
Maybe
on
he
social
used her
media.
credit card.
And that's what I'm kind of thinking low key. But that might have been one of the wildest phone moments ever.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it was kind of shocking because, like, at first, and I didn't even fully catch it until my rewatch. But you know, she's yapping away, going off about everything going on in the house with Anissa. You know, high energy, super high strung in the moment, and she's like, you know, and then he goes, "Well, I love you." just trying to be supportive and shit. And she goes, I don't fucking care that you love me. And I was just like, bro, that would have been the end of it right there for me. Fuck you, bitch. I hope you're fucking miserable in that house. I hope you fucking stub your little toe. I hope you stub that one, the little one, and like right on the front of it. Not the side, but right on the fucking front. And I hope it cracks your nail too. Like, fuck you, bitch. And I would have hung up. I'd have been done. I'd have packed my shit.
Maybe he did.
But also,
I would have used her credit card and then been like, fuck you.
But also, I do want to say that I think it's fun, just adding on to the credit card thing. She says all that. And then he goes, yeah, I know. So I'm like, is this like something that's already happened? Are you an expected repeated offender in this situation? Is that what's going on? Is that why she's telling you don't use my credit card? Or like, did he say like, oh, I saw this shirt, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, don't use my credit. You know what I mean? Like, what prompted that? Or did that literally just come out of thin air? Because if so, like, girl, you're fucking crazy. Go home. Like, at this point, just, you got some shit to work out. Go home. Like, because that was wild.
I have my theories, but because I watch too much 90 Day Fiancé and I see how it works when there's one person who makes money and they happen to be American.
Oh, okay.
Tony,
okay.
What do you think about this whole situation?
I mean, I also wrote down that it was one of the weirdest phone calls that we have ever seen in however many seasons when you factor in All Stars and USA and everything else. Yeah, like I would even go so far as to say it was one of the weirdest interactions with like a family visit of sorts, just to like Survivor, like anything that I've seen on reality television. It was the strangest conversation. And like it was as if we were dropped in the middle of it, but like we missed the first part where there was an argument and we just got the part where she was still in the argument. He wasn't anymore.
Yeah.
It was still going on. And then I don't know, with like you said, like with the whole I know, like, is that just how she ends her phone calls? Like, by the way,
Solo
don't
use
my credit card. I like Ashley, but I'm glad that we are no longer on seeing her on rivals terms, because that was not a good pairing. It was not good for either one of them. It was not fun to watch. There was no part of that. This is not what I would have wanted for Ashley's return to the challenge.
Dude, they should have brought back Hunter.
No.
Yes.
That would have been fucking epic.
I can't stand Hunter.
Should have been throwing
They should bring back Gatherer. Be more interesting.
Forager.
That was good.
Oh my God.
That was good. I'm sorry. That was really good. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I feel like though, because Ashley has been gone for a while, they like had to show all of her intense moments to be like, yeah, Ashley's back and she's still fucking crazy.
I want to like do one of those cap cuts of Ashley and all her fucking little blow ups and do the John Oliver like banger after banger after banger. I don't miss.
No.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to. Okay. So the other part of this is watching her in this elimination with like taking the goggles off and all of this other shit. Do you think she threw this elimination just to get out of there because she thought her boyfriend was going to use her credit card? Or do you think this was a fair effort, Corrina?
Look, I'm honestly, I'm sitting in the middle on this. I don't necessarily think that Ashley threw it, and I definitely don't think it had anything to do with her credit card.
But we don't know. Allegedly.
But I also don't think that she put her all into this. She didn't think it through. She didn't put all of her effort and her whole brain into this. And I think it more had to do with the fact that she just did not want to be there with Anissa. She didn't want to be partnered with Anissa. She knew that they weren't performing well. She knew they were already halfway through filming and knew that, you know, the chances that they were going to actually make it to the final and make money was low. So I don't necessarily think she threw it, but I don't think that she was really, truly trying?
I hive mind.
I have a kind of different theory. So I thought it was weird that like a little bit before that happened, she was like having a conversation with Fessy and talking about how much she like didn't want to be paired with Anissa, and they like showed Anissa standing outside the door. Maybe she could hear. And I wonder, like, did Ashley tell Fessy, like, I don't want to be here with Anissa. I have no chance of winning. Please put us in because I'm not going to go anywhere. Because it seemed kind of out of nowhere that he put Anissa in. Like, why now? They're not like a super big threat. But I just thought it was coincidental that she was like having a conversation with Fessy because I don't really see them talking that much.
I feel like that Fessy is a petty personality, and that Anissa said his name in the last season. They did.
She did.
And that's the excuse he gave.
I get that, but I don't even think it's about him being petty. Don't get upset. You've been cutting me off for the last 2 questions. I don't think it's about him being petty. I think he was looking for an easy out, and that was just an easy excuse. That's what I think.
I mean, I think that if somebody's already said my name in the past, I'm going to say their name too. And I think it was also the fact that it's not going to cause a shit ton of waves. Like, because at this point, the only person left for Ashley is Shane. And Shane's not going to go after Fessy and Amber.
Yeah.
And then the only one that's left there with Anissa is Devin. But Fessy and Amber have a relationship with Devin, and he just says it's the easiest vote for us.
Right.
You know what? Sorry, one more thing. You think Fessy is like fucking finally the chance to get rid of the Vacation Alliance?
Yes.
Yeah, I bet he is.
Yes. Fucking Josh isn't here to
He's like,
fuck it up for me this time.
They're outnumbered this time. I'm taking him out.
Which is actually really funny because technically Fessy's part of the Vacation Alliance.
I know he is. But we all know he's that low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Lower than Josh.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure, yeah.
For sure. Josh is high up there, in my opinion. But anyway, so
at this point, yeah, for sure.
Tony, would you got some different thoughts on us on this, or hive mind?
A little bit. So honestly, like if Ashley didn't want to be there, Ashley would just leave. Like she doesn't care that she's attached to Anissa. She doesn't care what it does to Anissa's game. If she didn't actually want to be there, she would just peace out. And then Anissa can deal with the fallout, which probably means Anissa's going to be removed from the game as well.
Right.
The other thing, though, and the thing that gets me is really if you think about it from a strategic point of view and looking at the game historically, Anissa gets thrown in right before the final, right? Like we know that. Like usually the vote before the final, Anissa gets thrown in. So, and not before that. So if you lay low, you stay in the middle of the pack as far as your pair goes. You're not at the top. You're not at the bottom. You don't have to make decisions. You don't really have to get any blood on your hands. You only have to perform well in one elimination to make it to the final.
Yeah.
Because Anissa gets thrown in right before the final. So you don't have to worry about any of the eliminations leading up to it because nobody really takes a shot until right before. So you really only have to perform once. And I think that what it came down to for this was, like you said, Corrina, she just made a bad judgment call because her head wasn't in it. Yeah. She was flustered. There were all of the things that we've already talked about like she was on a team that wasn't doing as great as she felt that she could do with another partner. There are so many other factors that played into it that she just made a really dumb call and didn't put her goggles on. But
like didn't she take them off though?
Yeah, well, because she started up top doing doing the water.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And then when she got down, she was like, "Oh, they're dirt," and she had said like they're so dirty I can't see through them. But I'm like, and that's why she had ended up taking them off and throwing them in the dirt. But
why wouldn't she just dump them in the water?
And dunk them in the water and put them on your face, sweetie.
Another mistake on production, because that could have some serious implications to somebody's eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like having a fucking fire hose at the top shooting into your eyes. Like They
it should have been a rule.
have to wear glass. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to wear them.
Yes.
That's like
100%.
saying, you know what, this helmet is a little uncomfortable. I don't really want to wear it during this hall brawl, so I'm going to just take it off. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like a big wuss on this. Like, we're using a garden hose. It wasn't like it was spraying down with hundreds of PSIs. It was like getting sprayed in the face with a water hose, and they had a plastic shield.
But still, you know.
I'm just, okay. But
I said fire hose.
yeah, like,
no, definitely
Straight
not
down.
that. But you know, it's just it's still fucking.
It is.
It's just.
Okay, but it was like a hose if you put your thumb over it and it's like spraying all crazy and hard. Like it wasn't just like it wasn't.
It had a gun attachment, is what it was.
Wasn't good for your eyes.
But I want, as a fan, I want to agree with you that she didn't purposefully throw this. She just wasn't into it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you don't become a champ twice by not being mentally into it.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm just saying, I think she knew that Anissa's not going to be able to win this. She's not going to beat Adam and Steve in a final. She's not going to beat Devin and Leroy in a final. Like all the top performing teams that you can tell are going to make it to the final more than likely, especially now we're damn near halfway through the season. You know, she's looking at the Bamber Fessies, the Dario Ashleys, the Devin Leroys, the, Adam Steve, even Shane and Devon isn't like a horrible fucking matchup for a final.
You're right.
You know, so she's looking at that and knowing that, we might do all right at the puzzles, but what's going to happen when it comes to running? Or what's going to happen if we have to carry weight? Or, all of these things. And so I think that it was just in her head that, like, I'm here for no fucking reason. This is a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that she was like, I'm going to throw this and go home. But I think she was in her head like, this is a fucking waste of time. And when you get in your head about that shit, it fucks with you.
It could have just been the fact that I think after 4 or 5 episodes, you get paid your full fucking fee.
Yeah.
Too. So there's
agree.
that. All right. So now we're getting into episode 5, Try Rival Pursuit, or as they were trying to do, Trivial Pursuit. Let's go back to Get Rich or Die Trying. You're welcome. Anyways, let's get right into this. When we start off episode 5, we kind of playing off what we said with the Ashley situation and her phone call. We get some phone calls home, but instead of being just one long interview for one person, it's kind of like a montage with some, little cuts here and there. And my question is, which one do you guys prefer? Like those really in-depth ones where you see them calling home, or this montage?
I mean, personally, really, I don't really care for the phone calls home. Like, I feel like they hardly ever add anything. The Ashley one was fun, just because, like, she was, being a psycho.
Yeah, it was.
That's
good.
just always fun to watch. But part of me does feel like when they do just like these montages where we don't really get to see these conversations with their family or their friends at home, that it does kind of take away from, building their character, seeing these different sides of these people, what's motivating them, what's pushing them, what's ailing them, whether that be emotionally or mentally or whatever. As I say that, I think about, the one, I think it was from episode 4, or it could have been from this one, when Frank, talked to his husband on the phone and, he started crying and he was just, he needed that conversation and he needed, to see his husband's face and hear his voice and just kind of get that motivation back. And it kind of centered and refocused him. And, I've never seen that side of Frank before. And so it was nice to see that. And so I think that we miss out on little things like that when they do the montages. But at the end of the day, I don't really care how they do the phone calls because it's not like a huge part of the show that I'm like, I look forward to this, No,
I definitely see that. I'll kind of jump in real quick. I think I prefer the montage because I don't really care. And I feel like if I was on the show, I wouldn't want my phone call home to be filmed.
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? So I almost enjoy the montage where we don't hear what they talk about. We just see like smiling, like joking, like not you're calling home and your wife's like, the kids are going to get fucking murdered, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm going crazy. I've got nothing's going right. You're getting phone calls from work. Like, where the fuck is this report? Where's your TPS cover sheet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I like the montage. It fills the niche just fine for me.
So I actually like this montage in particular more than like some of the other individual things, excluding Frank's, because I really liked Frank's for exactly why you said. But I found that with this montage, we got all of the things that you want from like each conversation. You got a real moment with each one of them. Whereas normally, if you got a longer phone call, all the things that got cut out of all of these phone calls would be the part that you saw. The part that it's like, hey, did you water the plants or whatever? Like the really mundane stuff. Whereas this one, like you got that great moment with Michelle and Devin and like with Adam and Avery and Leroy and Cam and the kids, like all of those things were really great. And they sort of reinforced what we already knew about some people, because like some of these people, like we know what's going on with them because they're more recent, but it was really genuine moments that you don't totally get in the house. And again, like I think that if we would have got a longer call, it wouldn't have necessarily been with Devin or Leroy or Adam, and we would have missed those.
Yeah. And I think I'm also basing some of mine, just throwing this out there for everybody else's who might be letting this influence. I'm thinking back to 40 and their seasons where right before they go into a final, we get 30 minutes of phone calls home for every cast member. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not an episode.
Horrible.
So
I kind of like the quick montage version more because, you know, I always say when you see a phone call home, that's how you know you're about to get, that person's going to get eliminated. So this one, you couldn't really tell who was going to get sent home. So that's nice. And I loved the call with Devin and Michelle a lot.
I loved it.
But speaking of like not realizing what's going to get shown, you think Devin was like, yeah, let me just like super, what's the term? Like cake, like get super sappy and like spill my love for her. And he's probably going to be like, no, now they know I'm soft.
Right?
Like, why'd you show this?
Like, dude, no, Tori already told on you.
yeah, dude, we saw the crossword puzzle on 40.
Yeah, we
You
did.
can tell.
Yeah.
You can just tell by like knowing what people are like when you're truly in love. And it's just like, yep.
They got it.
Yeah. Well, just kind of like adding on to like the softy good boyfriend thing, you know, train for Devin. I saw a story on Michelle's Instagram, like, I don't know, a week or so ago, while they were on their little Valentine's Day retreat thing that they were literally like at this place for like a week or two. I don't even know how long they were there, but I felt like it was like 2 weeks they were there, always at the beach. And anyway, she had a story where she was like, I've always wanted to surf, blah, 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 you know, whatever. And then like the next and she's like, so we're going, you know, we heard of this place. So we're headed down there, whatever. And then the very next slide is like her. And she's like, okay, so we almost died getting here. And Devin had to lug all my bags, and like it turns to Devin and he's just got all this shit that he's dragging through the sand down to the beach. And then she's like, and we finally get down here and it's clear that like this is for very advanced surfers. And also I'm not wearing the right bathing suit and I don't even have a board.
Oh my God.
And Devin's just in the back, still just dragging everything down to the beach, just like a good boyfriend. Just, I was like, he's a softie. Anyway, so, no, I loved their conversation. It was so cute.
Just real quick, because we know that they've like gone their separate ways, why out of all the calls that they would show would they use the Nani and Casey one?
Seriously. And
Such
first.
bad taste.
It was before, it was like they had sort of announced that they were not separating, whatever. But like before this aired, like before All Stars 5 aired,
Yeah.
more than enough time to go in and just like whoop, take that one out and put somebody else in. So it was like it was very jarring more than anything else, where I was just like, oh, this is a montage of like everybody and their significant others and like really cute stuff. And then they left that one in.
Yeah.
Well,
It was shocking for us too when it first came up. We
Yeah.
were like, why would they do that?
Well, and then they put it out on Instagram that day.
I'm fairly certain Nani isn't watching this, so, and I'm sure Casey's not either. but
Probably not. I don't know.
I wouldn't.
It's just weird.
No, I just
It's
felt
in-
bad. Like I felt bad
Yeah,
for them.
Yeah.
It's
it
in
was
bad
awkward a little
taste.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awkward and bad taste. You guys are absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into the daily on this. Typically, when we get these kind of trivia, questions, it's a heights over water kind of trivia challenge. This one, they instead of doing it, looks like they went back to the set of 40 or a recently burned down like cathedral. And
It was definitely the
Chamber
what did
or
you
whatever?
what did you just say?
the burned down cathedral.
No.
Oh,
but-
the original house for 40
Yeah, I know, but you said something else.
set.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely the original set for 40. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was trying to
I
think of
actually did hear that that's the truth. That is accurate. In the official challenge podcast with Katie Cooley, she mentioned and you'll see that we go back to a familiar place.
Yeah.
You'll notice the chamber.
So really what I'm getting to, and I'll start off with Tony, is do you prefer the heights over water kind of trivias like they normally do, or do you prefer these mixing in food challenge with it?
I mean, for Katie's benefit, I was glad that it wasn't heights over water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As much as I do like to hear Katie swear, because nobody swears like Katie,
facts.
I like that they mix it up because you always have the trivia element, but you don't know how it's going to present itself. Because we've had the ones where they get catapulted off. We had the one where they were standing up and then it just kept ratcheting forward every time that they got something wrong. So there's been enough variation, but I also don't really care about the food challenges. They don't do anything for me. We don't need an entire montage of Corey Wharton puking. I preferred this because they incorporated trivia about your partner. They did better trivia for rivals about your partner than they did for Ride or Dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
They asked dumb shit for Ride or Dies, and they actually asked legitimately good questions for this one. But I liked the fact that even if the trivia may have been different than we're used to, it made for a better food challenge than we would have gotten if they were separate.
Agreed.
That's fair.
That's how I looked at it.
No, I definitely see your perspective on that. Alexis, what do you think? Do you prefer one to the other, or?
I don't mind that they mixed it together. I mean, you're knocking two birds with one stone, and you get two that you have to do, just done and over with. Plus, I feel like they've done a lot of heights, so maybe just take a break on that. I will say though, I always notice when the challenges, I always joke that the challenges cost $100. And this is definitely one that costs $100.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. The bus ride there was the most expensive part of the whole thing.
It's fine. There wasn't too much puking, so that was okay.
Yeah, I am glad they cut that short. Definitely 100%. I think on this one, I don't know. I almost like it when they do the food challenges and they have to do some type of endurance with it, because I just feel like it makes it more torturous, and it's because I'm just a fucked up individual. With that being said, I don't mind this with the trivia. I think it plays well. It really does incentivize you to not tank the challenge. You know what I mean? But that's my kind of quick short take on it. What do you think, Corrina?
No, I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't mind when they do these, when they mix in, a food challenge with trivia. I will say that personally, I think Vendettas did it better.
Yes.
With the whole like game show thing, and TJ came out in the suit and like was being like the game show host, and then they had like the final showdown where like, you know, they eat the bowl of mayo and Tony fucking murdered that. You know, so absolutely disgusting. But you know, I do think Vendettas did it a little bit better than this one. But I didn't mind it, and I did like that it wasn't like crazy, nasty, insane shit that was just gonna make them, you know, puke all their guts out. Like I don't like that. I don't mind eating challenges, but I also I don't like the fucking throw up scenes. Like, just we don't need to see that. So I was very grateful that they cut that short. But yeah, I think Vendettas did it better.
So Tony said something that made me want to add a secondary question to this, which is, what kind of trivia do you like? More like just general based knowledge trivia, or these where it's kind of like spicy, what do you think of, who's the most untrustworthy person in the house kind of questions? Or would you prefer to see like maybe a mix?
I like the questions about the game that they're in. And the reason for that is because you get too many people in the house that won't say shit about anyone.
Yep.
So it then becomes a matter of like, you have to say something. And that's the one thing I didn't like about this challenge, is the people who wrote no one. Like, you shouldn't be able to write no one because it's someone. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Like, there is somebody that you think is the least trustworthy. There is somebody who you think is the weakest team. Like, every single one of those questions had a legitimate answer. So you can't say no one. And that was really the only thing that didn't jive for me. But I think the game specific questions that force people to actually say something about the game that they've been playing, so they can't just go under the radar, makes for a more interesting game going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Personally, I like when they ask, you know, questions about what's currently going on in the game, whether it's, you know, who's the shadiest or the weakest or whatever, or whether it's actual trivia about what they've done so far in the season. Who was the second team to go home, you know, or whatever. I also think that that's a bit more even balanced style of trivia, because, you know, if you go with like pop culture, general knowledge type stuff, you know, saying general knowledge doesn't necessarily mean it's general knowledge, especially when we have people like Melissa from different countries and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then if you do like, you know, I think it was what All Stars 1, where they just did like previous challenge trivia from like questions about old challenge seasons, you know, that's fun. And honestly, it's like one of my favorite trivia challenges of all time. But it's also, you know, you're assuming that everybody on the cast actually watches every season. You know what I mean? So I like this because we know everybody's here. We know they're all here experiencing it. But I also will say that this one it felt like it fell a little flat for me. There was only 4 questions, which I thought they could have done much more with that. I definitely think in this regard, you know, they definitely tried to mimic what they did on Rivals 2 with the trivia challenge there. And it definitely fell flat in comparison. Rivals 2 is miles better than this one as far as like the types of questions and all of that. So that was my biggest complaint about it was, you know, and maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, but like I wanted more. But yeah, I do love how these types of questions force people to, you know, expose themselves and draw their lines. And I think like having it near the halfway point like they did was like perfect timing.
Honestly, I have mine with both of you, because I do agree that like the cast is such a wide range and variety of people. Like, general knowledge is not general knowledge for all of them. And I highly doubt all of them watch every season. So like people like us would do good at that trivia, but I like the spicy questions, especially to like stir up the drama in the house and have to show your cards. And that's why I hive mine with Tony, because I do think you should not have been able to say no one.
Agreed.
Like, where are the fucking rules? Why are they not making these rules? And Devin was like, Leroy, you really wrote no one? Like, are you kidding me?
So some of the comedy that came out of this was great.
So good.
I'm high-minding with all of you guys. I wouldn't mind a mix of questions, but I do enjoy the cast-related questions. I think that plays well. Yeah. Where I'm not hive-minding on you guys on this is I think sometimes it is better to just take the penalty and say no one, a la CT and Rivals 2 when asked like who the what was this kink is.
Yeah, who's the trashiest girl still in the house?
Yeah, and the girls handled the men's vote. Yeah. So he just said
R.I.P. Wes.
Yeah, and he got dropped.
Yeah.
And people play, that's a really smart move, which it is.
I also want to counteract that by saying that Rivals 2 format was a switch off male elimination, female elimination, and that happened to be a female elimination day. So CT really had no risk of putting himself in. You know what I mean? And, this format also kind of plays to that because we don't go to a last place or anything. We only go to first place. So, I don't know. But then also we are kind of going to last place because everybody has to answer all these questions. I don't know. That's interesting.
Just putting it out there.
It's also the first time we've had a daily where the people are actually negatively impacted by doing poorly.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they actually have to put stuff in their drink. And to your point, Rick, like R.I.P. Wes, different than writing no one. It's still a spoiled ballot, but it's like, that you're spoiling it versus saying, well, I don't think anyone is sneaky in this game.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's a lot to ask Nicole to be clever enough to write, give me more durian. You know what I mean? Or R.I.P. this drink. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need subtitles for her all the time. Anyways.
Oh, God.
Before we go down a rabbit hole on that, I want your guys' opinion on Katie and Veronica's strategy as far as portraying and playing on that we're the weakest team. Do you think that's the right move, or do you think that's kind of putting undue attention on them?
I think it's the right move because otherwise you're going to draw attention to yourself if you put anyone else and you're Katie and Veronica at this point, because perception is pretty split. But if you further that point to the fact where you're like, we also believe that we are the weakest team, feel free to take us to the final. Mm-hmm. And then they can do what they have to do and do however well they do. But that is their best ticket to the final, because I don't know how they will do as a team in elimination based on the eliminations we've seen so far.
I also think that it's probably their best bet. And I think that that's like, I would rather somebody write themselves than say no one.
Yeah.
But they know it's true. So they're good sports. Like they're not going to go cry about it. And that's great.
Agreed.
I'm sorry. I just want to say something. I'm just going to jump in really quick because I think that Katie knows the truth that they're the weakest team.
Okay,
But I think Veronica thought that they were just being strategic. And I just want to say, I just think it's I don't want to say this in a derogatory way, it's so cute or adorable. But it's funny to me that Veronica is just on this thing of we're going to play this part so that they take us to the final thinking we're the weakest team. And I'm just like, no, honey, you guys are one of, I don't want to say the weakest because obviously I'm not there. I don't know. But you're definitely towards the bottom of the totem pole on this one, regardless of how you act in the house or in the dailies.
They are playing that part better than Drake plays one as a rapper.
Damn.
Wow.
Drake catching strays.
Hey, Drake, I heard you like him young. No, I'm hive-minding with you guys on all of this. I really have nothing interesting to add on it. But I think the most interesting part of this episode is what happens after the night out. And Dario has a conversation with Corey Lay and Fessy.
Oh, yeah.
Where they basically say, Frank's, and Dario's getting fed this information from Ashley. He is. that Frank wants to go after another star holder and open up those stars, which as the fans, I think we can all agree we want to see. But what I'm more surprised about is Dario gets called out in front of Leroy and Devin and literally gets caught in the middle of all of this. And Leroy's pissed because he just goes into like, hey, I know his mom, his brother, he knows my family, all of this. We talk every fucking day. I would expect for him to actively work for me like I would work for him. And Dario's playing it like, I got to do what's best for my game. I can't play your game for you. So I want to know, Corrina, whose side are you on this?
Look, this is one of my biggest battles with the challenge because I go back and forth between like, you know, playing in an alliance, supporting your alliance members, and, you know, and putting your game at risk. I don't know if perhaps maybe in this moment, hearing that Frank and Sam wanted to shoot for star holders, that maybe Dario got a little bit nervous and was just like, oh, we got to go for Leroy and Devin. Or if it was particularly an issue he was having with Devin that we just didn't see. But I think that there's a line where it's okay to go against your allies in the game if it's going to negatively impact your game. But I just didn't see that happening. So it almost felt like this was like a full frontal attack on Devin and Leroy for no reason, because Dario was the one who initially brought up Devin and Leroy's name in that conversation with Corey and Fessel, you know, and Corey clocked it. He didn't like the fact that Dario's buddy with Leroy and then over here saying his name. And that's what made Corey go and tell Devin to begin with. You know, so I think that there's a line between going against your allies to protect yourself. And I don't think that Dario was anywhere near that line. And there was just no reason for him to cross this right now. And I think he knew that, because once he got confronted with it, he immediately went into defense mode, got like, you know, verbally aggressive, tried to get physically aggressive with Devin. Mm-hmm. And it just, you know, it's just kind of like, why are you doing all that if you're trying to sell that you didn't actually say any of this, and it's not, you know, it just, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
I feel like Dario should not have turned on his actual friend. To me, it is kind of like turning on them. Like, why not go to a final with Devin and Leroy? Like, you're pretty good. You're pretty matched up, like, well, so he should have confidence in that. But also, he should know, if he knows Cam and Leroy, that they don't fucking play like that. Because if you turn on them, like, I bet Cam had something to say about that, because she definitely had something to say about Cara not playing the way she thought she should have.
100%.
I feel like Leroy really wasn't that mad. Like, he definitely didn't flip out like I would have. Like, there wasn't, you know, like, they're going back to the house and packing up their bags. Like, there wasn't an altercation at the house. And I feel like if you gave Cara and Cam that option, like, there would have been some words exchanged after turning on them.
100%.
That's fair. And
here's my thing is, like, the fact that Dario got caught, and then instead of being accountable and saying, look, Leroy, I have to play this game for me. You know what I mean? Like, this might be my last shot to ever play this. You're coming back off back-to-back seasons. You know, and I've got to play for me on this, and this is what they want to do, and I'm part of that alliance, and I really don't have a say on it. I'm just trying to, you know, let you know. And I'm sorry I didn't give you the heads up before I said something to someone else. So what Devin's saying is true. It's a deaded situation, and right. Leroy understands. But instead, Dario reacts like a 7-year-old or 8-year-old that gets caught lying and goes into instant fucking defense raw mode.
Yep.
And Devin's gonna fucking hook that motherfucker every time and does exactly what he does. And Dario is so fucking worked up that he just got caught betraying his best friend on a television show that all he says is, I'll break your jaw right now. You're a joke. You're a joke. And then I see some people that have the audacity to say, what Devin said, you're not even in my tax bracket, is so offensive. It's like, what? Get the fuck
That's
out of here.
Wes.
Yeah, that's a Wes insult. And if you don't get that, you should go back to watching reindeer games. No offense.
Honestly, if your feelings were hurt over the tax bracket comment, you and your soft ass is part of why we have a soft ass fucking show now.
Exactly.
It's your fault.
But your breath stinks was hilarious.
Yeah. That was he was good on that one.
Yeah.
I'll give Dario partial credit because he's not played the game in a minute. And also they gave Leroy's name pretty damn quick.
Yep.
If they're going to go after a star holding team, and that's what they want to do, think about it. There's another team that's not you and not your friend outside of the house and is Nani and Turbo.
Yeah.
You can say that's another team. But I mean, the other thing too is I think that if you switched it up and it was Devin and Leroy in that conversation, and for the sake of this argument, Devin is friends with Dario, I think that Devin can subtly move that target off of Dario without going to him and Leroy and put it on Nani and Turbo easily. Dario doesn't have that social game.
No.
He doesn't have the ability to do that. So his only thing that he chose to do, which not correct if you're asking me, was to put it to just say, this is what I've heard and this is what the house is going to do. And I get what he's saying, that he can't protect Leroy if it means that he's going into elimination, because he can't protect Leroy from outside of the game either. So he has to find a way to stay in. But no one was saying Ashley and Dario.
Literally.
They said Leroy and Devin.
Who are the star holders? Adam, Steve, Devin, Leroy, Nani, Turbo, and who's the fourth? Is it Amber Fessy?
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
Dario
not.
and
It's
Ashley.
Dario and Ashley.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, I get it. But Dario's a punk.
He is. Honestly, I just.
It was one of my least favorite moments as far as a confrontation.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
It was, I should say least favorite moment. That's not putting it right. I just thought it was very lopsided. It was like watching Josh and Devin fight again. It was just like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, exactly.
With that being said, we end up getting Devin, Leroy, Adam, Steve in the elimination. And Devin and Leroy lose, unfortunately, and go home. And I say unfortunately because I'm big fans. I think we all are here.
Yeah.
But do you guys think taking out Devin and Leroy was a big move and an actually smart move to make?
Yeah, if they weren't friends. I feel like now he's able to be like, well, see, this is why. Because if not, then they probably would have won. I thought they were going to win this season when I saw the lineup on day one. Yeah. And I wanted them to, because I want Leroy to get his win. But I mean, it was a smart move on his part, but I don't want to say that he should have.
Yeah. I think that if I'm Frank and Sam's on board with my assessment of the game, if we want to win, we have to make sure we make the final with Katie, Veronica, Nicole, Melissa, and then one other team that I'm not thinking of right now. Maybe Big T and Corey Lay. I don't know. Right. We don't want to go against Adam C. We don't want to go against Amber Fessy. We don't want to go against Devin Leroy. We want to give ourselves the best opportunity. So I think this is a smart move for Frank. Is it a little bit soon? For my liking, yes, but who knows when they're going to get power again to make a move like this? That's kind of my opinion.
Well, I mean, yes, it feels like soon because we just lost Devin and Leroy.
Yeah.
But we've also just established that we're at the halfway mark. So really, you're running out of opportunities to take out the bigger players that you're not going to end up seeing at the final.
Yeah.
I initially thought that they completely whiffed it when they walked in and it was a puzzle and numbers. I was like, cool. So you might be seeing Leroy and Devin again quite soon, and you will have some explaining to do. But the fact that they both had to complete puzzles independently before they could come to help one another, I didn't realize that Steve was as good at math as he was. But then I think that there is an element of Leroy trying to figure it out, but then Devin also thinking about what Leroy was doing rather than just focusing on what he was doing. And I think if they had to do it like 10 times, I think it's probably like 5 and 5 for who ends up on top. I will say that as much as I did not want to see, like, as soon as we got the two names, I was like, well, shit, like, I don't want either team to go home. But Frank and Sam know that Adam and Steve are absolute beasts in the sand. They've proved it episode after episode after episode. But Leroy and Devin are beasts in the house.
Yeah.
If they get Leroy and Devin out by way of Adam and Steve, they get a pair out that could be working against them, that could flip on them and easily flip the entire house against them, versus keeping Adam and Steve around. They don't have that social capital.
Yeah.
So it sucked. I hate seeing Devin go that early. I hate seeing Leroy go that early. It's a great move for Frank and Sam. I think they did it at the right time because we are at the halfway mark. And I think that as much as we look at Leroy and Devin as a physical threat for the final, I think they are a much more dangerous social threat throughout the season to get in their crosshairs and to get picked off.
No, I mean, Hive Mind, I agree with you guys. I think that this was a good move, a smart move. It was the right move. It feels early, but again, it's an all-star season, so we're only getting 10, maybe 11 episodes. So we're already halfway through. And, you know, I also think that, number one, Frank is an entertainer, and he knows what the fans want to see. He knows we don't want to see, you know, Adam and Steve take out all the weaker pairings.
All the women.
House. Like, yeah, like he and I honestly think that Frank is one of those people that goes into, you know, this show when he films it, and he's aware that he's filming the show. Like, he's very Bananas style, where he's aware he's filming a show and he's going to do what he needs to do to make a show, make it enjoyable to watch. And I think that the fact that we've had, you know, 4 winners up to this point who have continually tossed in the easy picks, the boring picks, you know, I think Frank wanted to spice things up a little bit. And, you know, he obviously wasn't gonna toss in like Fessy and Amber, or, you know, Dario and Ashley. So,
yeah,
what does that really leave for spicing things up?
The other thing is that, and I just thought of this now, if the way that they have it set up, the way that they set in 2 star holders, that means that even at the halfway mark, they figure out how the game works. It's a game mechanic that wasn't unknown up to that point. And Frank and Sam were able to put that in motion so that they find out what happens when 2 star holders go against one another.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, you know, they answered some questions. So, yeah, I mean, I think this was, as much as I hate the move, I definitely think it was the right move for Frank and Sam to make. So,
okay, well, I got 2 final things. We'll make it real quick, rapid session. First one is, what do you think is going to happen with this extra star right now?
Honestly, I'm assuming that it'll be given away at the daily. My what I don't understand is, my initial thought is that it'll be given away to whoever wins the daily challenge. But what happens if the first place winner is already a star holder? Do we then go till second? What if second place? You know what I mean? So how far are we really going to take this to get a winner for this star? But I will say, I so much more prefer this than the giving them away like Skittles in All Stars 4.
In the preview for next week's episode, the way that the voiceover from TJ worded the daily said that it was a daily for a star. So my question is, does the same thing happen that happened in episode 1, where we get a daily for a star, somebody wins a star, but we don't necessarily see an elimination as a result. That could be what happens.
I'm sorry. I didn't even watch the next time on. So that struck a thought. Maybe it'll be like that last challenge on All Stars 4, where if you have a star, you're exempt from this daily challenge. And that way, whoever comes in first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Or whoever comes in first assigns it. If they already have a star, they give it to somebody else.
I'm just really hoping that's not the case, because I don't like the giving it. I want you to earn that damn star.
Well, spinning off that, like, what if he says, like, not only if you have a star already, you're exempt, but you're safe from elimination? How awesome would it be if somehow having a star already while there's one up for grabs saves Adam and Steve from being in elimination every single time?
That would be so cool. I'm really hoping they get a week.
Oh, that
Me
would be
too.
cool. Yeah. All right. And that goes into my next question, which is last recap for the first 3 episodes. We were pretty unanimous that we all had Frank as MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Who's been your MVP for these last 2 episodes?
Oh, shit.
Alexis.
Honestly, I feel like for me, Katie and Adam
Okay.
tied. Katie's just been really fun, and I enjoy seeing her personality come back out, because I feel like she is exactly the same, but like now she's an adult, so like she has responsibilities and like knows how to cope and doesn't flip out as much, but like she's in there and she's still like, no, Adam, you need to like come on, like get angry. And that's fun.
I love it. Yeah.
And I just love Adam. I don't know.
Dang, this one's so hard, because I feel like, honestly, like still the only like super consistent person that's like really playing their character and doing well is still Frank. But I want to give some other shout outs. So I'm not going to give it to Frank for these last 2 episodes, but I do want to give a big shout out to Devin Leroy, because they absolutely kicked ass on the last 2 dailies. Really, like that's why they got targeted, because they keep coming in either first or second in all the dailies. Like they were just really good. And I also want to give a big shout out. Oh, sorry. Gosh, I just went blank. Damn. I just went blank on who I was about to give a shout out to.
Well, there's only so many people.
I know. And I don't know what I was thinking before. I can't think of what it was.
Okay. Tony, if you think of it.
Oh, I remember
Okay,
it. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
And it's
That's
so
how it happens.
and it's so basic, bitch. My other shout out is just, Adam and Steve. They're not doing that great in the house, but they are absolutely killing it in the eliminations. And, I think that they deserve a big shout out for, continually playing their game and doing it with a big ass smile too. So
I wonder if there's like a record on how many times a pair has been sent into elimination consecutively.
They beat the record of...
Wes and Casey were 4.
Okay, then they've tied
I
it
believe
now.
so. I believe Wes and Casey were 4 on Fresh Meat. Yeah, I can't remember, but I do know there is a thread in the challenge fans on Facebook. And they're one of like 3 teams in history that have been sent into the first 3 consecutive eliminations. So.
Yeah. So then I think because they're now been in 5, that they now hold
4.
that record for, right? Because we didn't do on the first episode because reasons. Yeah. So they've tied Wes and Casey for like going in from the first episode through,
Right.
or I guess from the first elimination through. So whatever happens next week will be
Fingers
your
crossed.
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't mind continuing to give my MVP to Frank, because he's been super consistent. He knows where his strengths lie, and he's still being like, they're a really cohesive team. And I think people are sleeping on the fact that they're a really cohesive team. So I'm actually, you know what? Fuck it. My MVPs are Sam and Frank for continuing to maneuver the game to their strengths, and hi Mozzie, and Adam and Steve, because they've continued to stay there with toe shoes, and despite being thrown in time and time again. And I mean, that deserves some praise. So Frank and Sam, Adam and Steve.
I'm going to hive mine with Tony. The only caveat I'm going to add is I think we got some foreshadowing this episode with the comments from Devon and Shane during the trivia about Frank and Shane. And I think that's going to lead to some drama that might be really fucking good. So let's look forward to that. But no, hive mind, same for me as Tony. But guys, that pretty much wraps it up.
Wraps it up for this week.
Guess what? You don't have to wait long. We'll be back next week with a special guest to do our mid-season recap.
Just keeping you on your toes, having his crazy wild schedule.
So make sure you're following us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, fucking
Facebook,
Only Dads, all of that. Foot Finder.
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves,
Yelp.
Lycos. Do all of that and rate us 5 stars while you're at it. But for myself, Ricky Hayes, my beautiful wife, Corrina Hayes, Alexis, Tex, Rawson, and Tony, Stats, and Info Lance, we want to thank you guys for tuning in so much. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us ramble on about the challenge. You know what? But otherwise, be good to each other. We love y'all.
Later.
Peace.
Bye.